In the autumn of 1939, the first translation of Esselman's book Bahá'u'lláh and Oníatíma was published in Iceland. This was the work of three women, Amelia Collins, Martha Ruth and Hólmfríða Árnadóttir. It was financed by Amelia Collins and encouraged by Martha Ruth during her visit in Iceland in 1935 and translated by Hólmfríða. It took 4 years to complete, and for Hólmfríða it was an enormous task. 600 copies were printed, 100 of which were sent to the Guardian at his request, and there was correspondence between Hólmfríða and the Guardian about this in Haifa. The books are on display in Bahá'í. They are in every room except the sacred room. The cover is paperback and is a deep, beautiful blue. It was the only book in Icelandic about the faith for many years. It was retranslated in 1960, again paid for by Amelia Collins and orchestrated by Marian Hoffman. And in 1978 it was translated by Edward Johnson, and this is the edition in use today. The 1939 edition was distributed all over the country, finding its way to remote areas, libraries, and even to the Vesturheimur, Canada, where the Icelandic diaspora had emigrated. What was amazing was how much media coverage it got. In 1939, we need to have in mind there was not a community here to promote it. Hólmfríða was known in many circles, and this actually may have helped. It is astonishing how much newspaper coverage the book actually got. It appeared in Icelandic in the Heimskringla in Winnipeg on the 1st of November 1939 under the title Bahá'u'lláh. It was a detailed introduction into the faith and quotes the whole of the first chapter of the book. On the 2nd of December in the Altíðarblað there was an article called Ný bók, a new book. It listed all the names of the chapters in the book. In February 1940, in the Dagur in Akureyri, there was a 2-column review called Merkilegt bók, a special book. It ends with öllum þeim sem lyft getur huga sínum í æðri átt ráðið til að lesa bók þessar. Everyone whose thoughts rise to higher things is advised to read this book. Then in the Morgunblaðið on the 4th of June in 1940, there was a good review of the book by Grétar Fells, a prominent theosophist. He ends by saying, Hólmfríða has done an essential task in translating this book into Icelandic. In the Vísir, on the 16th of May 1940, Helgi Péturs, a believer in mysticism, wrote an article called The Persian Messiah, in which he disagrees with some of the teachings of Abdu'l Baha, but praises Hólmfríða for translating the book and encouraging its being read. This is the third time that a newspaper article bearing the title Persian Messiah appears in the Icelandic media, first in 1980, then in 1915, and again in 1940, all without the intervention of a Bahá'í. And probably the most impressive review of all was in the spring edition of Eimriðin in 1940, a literary magazine published in Icelandic. It contains an almost 2-page article by Jakob Smári. These reviews were probably read widely, as was the book. The book reached the attention of a young man living isolated in the West Fjords, the brother of the girl who was later to become a Bahá'í, and is in her 80s today and is still living in the West Fjords. Jóhanna Ingvarsdóttir was 9 years old when her brother read to her from a book that their father, a bookbinder, received in the post and was asked to bind and cover. It was in 1942, and the book was Bahá'u'lláh Oníatíma. Jóhanna had forgotten this episode until she heard about the faith in the early 70s from her daughter. And she realized that she had heard of this faith before and knew all about it. She became a Bahá'í and probably had been a Bahá'í all the time without knowing it. Her brother died young. The book was returned to the owner and forgotten. Some years ago, the very same book was found in a second-hand bookstore in Akureyri and found its way back to Johanna, a treasure beyond treasures. This precious book by John Esselmont has been the source of many a person accepting Bahá'u'lláh throughout the years, and few have entered the faith in Iceland without reading it in one of its translations.